Well, hello there, motherfuckers, and welcome to your Smackdown review. So this is like a really short show because they got the bright idea to do a half an hour match and a 2-hour show. Now, you know, some people might make the argument, oh, there was a Angle and Lesnar match that lasted for over an hour back in the day, and if anyone's going to use that argument, see, that's the thing. I could think of the arguments right away that the Smarks are going to use, but I don't think anyone's really going to defend this show all that much, to be quite honest. There wasn't really a lot to like. I mean, you could fake mark out over some of the things on the show and pretend like you're excited, but this show right here, it just shows just SmackDown is sad. It's pathetic. And there was potential on this show to have a good show. There was. And I'll get to it when I do, where the potential was and where there was something good that, you know, could have happened. I mean, it was alright, but it could have been better. We'll get to it. So we started off with Becky Lynch and Asuka in the ring and face-to-face, and, you know, it's not really a lot happening. Becky is saying the same old thing. Asuka, you're good. She puts Asuka over, but I'm better. And, you know, Becky, like, has the same routine every time she comes out, which is what drives me crazy. You know, she's like Austin. She's like Austin. You know, and this is why that pisses me off so much. You know, I get it. It's an opinion. If people want to compare somebody, you know, I get it. They're not saying that she is Austin. Well, some people are kind of saying that. They're kind of drawing the comparison a little bit too close to the individual. You know, we could all make those arguments. You know, there's been so many that have said Jericho was like Shawn Michaels, and, you know, in a lot of ways, Jericho fulfilled his own legacy. You know, and you could definitely see where those comparisons spawn from, and a lot of them are accurate. Because Jericho went on to be a legend. He went on to be a great wrestler, a great superstar, a great character, a great personality. Now, with Becky Lynch, I think it's quite obvious that she'll never get to an Austin level. And if you're saying that to yourself, I mean, really, just kind of like weigh the possibilities. Look at the actual content. Look at the material. I don't even care. I'm sorry, but even if we had the best writers ever, even if Vince Russo and Ed Ferraro returned, or we had some of the old Ruthless Aggression writers, you know, back on the team, it would not matter. Because there's no way that Becky Lynch would be able to get to an Austin level. Do you realize, do you think of all those moments? Austin versus McMahon, the Zamboni, the beard truck, the Austin matches at WrestleMania 15 and 17. You know, are you thinking about the moments against the Hart Foundation and all the things that Austin's been through in his career? And then you look at Becky Lynch, you know, wearing a leather jacket, doing this with her head and talking really fast in certain spurts. You know, saying how good she is and calling herself the man. You know, I get the comparisons. You know, she's tough. She talks with an accent, right? She wears a leather jacket. Austin wore a leather vest. And she wears a black and white t-shirt. A black shirt with white lettering. So, oh, right away, Stone Cold, of course. You know, never mind the fact that she's nowhere as good of a in-ring technician as Stone Cold. Never mind that she doesn't even have a quarter of the charisma. She's got charisma, I'll give her that. She's got the ability. She's got the personality. But all those things are on a much, much lower level than with Stone Cold. So, you know, Charlotte comes out. She kind of eggs them on. They get into a brawl. Becky Lynch goes for the old, you know, I told you, this spot is exclusive to the PG era, throwing somebody over the desk. And I love when Tom Phillips calls this spot, it's always like word for word, like the same way all the time. You know, oh, over the desk, you know, like, wow, throwing somebody over the desk. Like, these spots are repeated over and over. It's like throwing somebody into the timekeeper's area. You know, like, what? I mean, you know, and this spot looked horrible. She went to go throw her over the table, and then she just kind of lands on the table, but he says over the desk. It's not really over the desk, that's onto the desk. She didn't, like, throw her over it. So it was a botched spot. It looked fucking awful. Let's move on, because I'm so sick and tired. You know, is this what we're going to hear in 2019, you know, going forward? We're still going to hear how great, you know, Becky Lynch is, because, you know, she struts around like that she's more than what she is. And, you know, this is the thing, like, they are giving her something to run with. And I know you're going to say, like, in an era that we're in right now, why am I criticizing somebody for making the best of their effort? I don't really think it is the best of her effort, to be quite honest. It really is some try-hard stuff that they're going for here. She's trying a little bit too hard. It's coming off as being a little bit lame, very overacted, and overproduced, which is the key word here. She's overproduced. This is going a little bit... See, that's how it is. It's either nothing at all or too much of something. They never could find that happy medium because they're fucking... ridiculous. I mean, they're just incompetent on all levels. Then we move on to Mandy Rose defeating Naomi. So this was kind of like going from like 100 to 0. You know, I gave them credit. They got out of the arena. They did something different. They did something that tried to harken back maybe to like Tori Wilson, Al Wilson, and Dawn Marie type of stuff. You know, it kind of went to have a little bit more of that edge. You know, Vince McMahon was going a little bit more for that edge that week. And, you know, and now we just have a normal match. And Mandy Rose, like, beats Naomi. I understand that, like, her head smacked against, like, the ring post. But seeing Mandy Rose pinning Naomi. Remember when she was coming out, you know, and she had the full entrance. And she was the women's champion. And it was all... You know, like, it was all uphill for Naomi. I mean, all downhill for Naomi. Or, you know, I don't know how you would say that expression. Like, if it's going well for somebody. Whatever the case may be. You know, it was, you know, it was a great success for Naomi, we'll say. And, she was, you know, doing really well. And I was getting behind her. Very talented, very athletic girl. You know, she seemed like definitely like, you know, coming out there with the dancing and the routine and the entrance. It was getting over it. Maybe not a lot, but you know, I liked her and I liked it. Okay. So I liked it and I liked her. And, you know, thing is, like, now, I mean, you know, you're losing just like to the model girl, like, you know, the pristine, you know, in-ring wrestler. You know, she's supposed to be, you know, the wrestling girl. The other one's just kind of supposed to, you know, this would kind of be like, you know, like, I don't know what you want to say, maybe a Beth Phoenix losing to Terry Reynolds, you know, something like that. You know, just like a girl that you would never see losing, you know, because she's like such a great wrestler. You know, why would she lose to somebody like that? Like, if anything, you know, Mandy Rose should be like, you know, not as good of a wrestler, obviously. So I don't even know why this is even a match. Like, why do they have to have a match? Is that really something that they need to do here? It's like, and you know, so Jimmy Uso runs out to check on her. Okay, that's all fine. Well, we move on to Cesaro defeating The Miz. And, you know, this is supposed to be the tag team that's going to, you know, set the world on fire. And here they are, you know, basically getting their asses kicked. I get they want them to look like underdogs and everything. But this whole thing is just a mess. I mean, they're going into a match. Really, this is their first big tag effort. And they're going into the match as losers. They're going into the match as chumps. They got their asses handed to them, and they're a new team and everything. And I get that's what they're trying to sell, you know, that the Bar is the established team, and that the Miz and... I mean, obviously, Miz and Shane are going to win. They don't... You know, the Bar are tag champs, but they have nothing for these guys. The only thing that they could think to do is match them up against, you know, New Day 1,000 more times. That's about it. That's all that they could really think to do. And, you know, New Day was backstage, and you know, they were asked the question, you know, are they going to you know, be every man for himself in the Royal Rumble? And, you know, this is like a stupid question, because obviously the answer to that is yes, you know, but of course they're not gonna do that storyline. I mean, if there's gonna be any year where they should just break them up and have that storyline told in the Rumble, I say go for it, do it already. I mean, like, I'm looking at Big E, and this guy is entertaining. I mean, they could turn this guy into something great. It's like Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, to me, have run their course. You know, I never really got, like, the big-time appeal of Kofi Kingston. I'm not saying that the guy is awful. You know, he's an athletic guy, likable to a sense. But I've never really seen why everyone is so hardcore on push Kofi Kingston. There were even people a few years ago that were saying, oh, they're racist, they never made Kofi the champion. I'm like sitting there saying to myself, are you fucking joking? I see more star in Titus O'Neil than I do in a Kofi Kingston, to be quite honest. If we're going to talk about black wrestlers and guys that are underappreciated and deserve more. I mean, I saw more, you know, wide-ranging appeal from a Titus O'Neil, who's actually done promotional spots and has been an ambassador for the WWE, and all the stuff for him being a great father and all that, and him being, you know, named Father of the Year. You would think that maybe they'd take the ball and they'd run with that, but no. they're going off, and they're just basically saying fuck Titus O'Neil, you know. And he was on Raw, I didn't mention it, you know. He had a little promo where he says, I know you don't expect me to win the Rumble. Yeah, we don't. But here's New Day. It's like, this is a team that just refuses to end, and it's so obvious they have nothing for them here. Like, they're standing backstage cutting this promo. Tony Chimmel does a random, you know, walk-in. I mean, like, what's even going on here? Like, you sit back and you watch this show, and it's like, there's no cohesion. It doesn't even feel like a show. It feels like a bunch of shit slapped together. And some of it makes a little bit of sense, and some of it's just random as fuck. And this was. Like, here you have the wrestler say, like, you ask us this every year. Yeah, because it's the same fucking shit. You know, exactly. Thanks for exposing your own product. Then we had Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles, and Daniel Bryan was going off on McMahon here. McMahon was the mediator here. It was a face-to-face. You know, everything was like face-to-face tonight. You know, we're going to have Becky and Asuka face-to-face. I mean, like, you know, enough with the in-ring shit, but it was fine. Bryan, once again, was channeling, you know, where he was 2 weeks ago, shouting at McMahon, blaming him for shit, you know, saying that, you know, he doesn't give a damn about everything, you know, it's all about corporate greed with him. Meanwhile, you know, he's remorseless, and, you know, he doesn't think about his own. It was, you know, he was going off on the environment and everything. And I have to say, every time that Bryan goes out there, I mark out for him. I mean, really. Now, I don't like that he's cowardly and he was doing everything from outside the ring and everything. I think that they probably could have, you know, done something better. Like, could you imagine maybe if they had, like, Bryan? Like, this is what I'm kind of thinking. I really want to see, like, Bryan, like, if they ever do a show at the Barclays Center, like, go to some place in Brooklyn that just serves, like, vegan food or some shit, because they have those restaurants. You know, just have them sit there and, like, talk down to AJ and everybody else and stuff like that. That would be good. Change the scenery up, do something. But as far as the rate of how Daniel Bryan's doing with this character, it's a 10 out of 10. I mean, I feel like they could do so much more. This is mostly like Bryan doing everything in every fiber of his being and just throwing it into this. See, this is how it's done. This is how it's done. Not Becky Lynch trying really hard and stuff. Bryan, you could see, is passionate. This is what I saw out of him during his Ring of Honor days as a heel. When Bryan showed that he has personality, he knows how to play up a crowd, he knows how to be a heel. And Bryan's a great face, But, you know, after they fucked him up bad, you know, coming back and with that lackluster return, when for all intents and purposes it should have been a meteoric, you know, return. It should have been one for the ages. It should have been a Cinderella story. He should have won the title, basically. You know, instead AJ Styles paraded around with it for the better part of the year. Instead of doing something that actually made sense, like having Bryan come back and, you know, beat, like, AJ for the title, and it would have been, like, a massive thing. But instead, you know, they waited a long time, so they tried to save face, and at least they did that. At least they tried to freshen it up, and it's worked for the most part. So, you know, I didn't like how, you know, he was chasing AJ. AJ was chasing him around the ring, and, you know, I wasn't really a big fan of that, to say the least. But, we move on to R-Truth and Carmella, and they're backstage. You know, do you realize that both of these wrestlers here, these two, you know, first of all, we've got R-Truth. You already know how I feel about R-Truth, that, you know, this guy was in the ring with The Rock. He was tagging with The Miz. Awesome Truth. It was something good. It was something like one of the best parts of 2011. You know, Carmella, just a few months ago, she was the women's champion. She was doing well with promos. And here we have them just always walking backstage. They won number 30 spots. And back in the day, the number 30 spot was a huge fucking spot. That was something reserved for the big leagues. You know, that, remember when Chyna made her way into number 30? You know, it was a big thing. It was a massive, massive accomplishment to become number 30 in the Rumble. And now it's like, oh, what, you're number 30? You know, well, you know, we'll put you there. It's kind of like a novelty spot. No, it's not a novelty spot. What it is actually supposed to be a spot where you're supposed to be able to perceive that person who runs in at that number as a potential winner, because they're coming in last after everybody has been in the match for sometimes over an hour. So it's like, you know, you look at it and then you say, like, okay, these people are definitely not going to win. I mean, honestly, like, they're making a joke out of the number 30 spot. And, like, this is your spot. You're the ones who built the legacy on it. WWE built that number 30 spot to be up to what it is and what it means in the history of the Rumble. And they themselves, like they do all the time, kill their own creation. They have killed one of the biggest deciding factors in the Rumble, one of the most intriguing parts of the Rumble, and that's the number 30 spot. So they fucked that up. Just like they fucked up the Rumble itself, they fucked up the Pride, they fucked everything up. Is there anything in their annals of history that they have not somehow, you know, messed up in some way, that they haven't, you know, put a big blotch spot on? I don't think so. I think they've pretty much gotten to everything. They've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's. They've fucked everything up. They fucked up their legacy and just about every single event and, you know, scenario that they've ever come up with. Then we move on to Samoa Joe defeating Mustafa Ali, and you know, you had Ali like pinning the champion, pinning Daniel Bryan, and now he's just a jobber. So we brought the guy all the way up from 205 Live just to basically be a jobber, just to be a punching bag. Hey, great. I'm sorry, but like Samoa Joe in there, I don't buy him as a badass. I'm sorry, Joe, but you know, the Royal Rumble winner doesn't get a box of Krispy Kremes. You know, that's you get a title match at Mania. You don't win a Crave case from White Castle. You don't get a lifetime supply of Cheetos. No, I'm sorry, but you know, like I'm looking at the guy. I'm hearing them say he's 282 pounds, and he's not even that tall. You guys realize that he's the same weight as Baron Corbin, who is almost like 10 inches taller than him? Even more than that? Like, are you fucking kidding me? This guy's fucking fat. Steiner was right. And then in the main event, we have our big half-an-hour match between Rey Mysterio and Andrade. I can't say Almas. I can't say Cien anymore because they've taken all the other names away from him. And it ends in a no contest. So there's nothing better than after a half an hour match that it goes to a no contest, that they don't even have the balls to have a fucking finish. I mean, honestly, I will say at least they didn't do 50-50 booking this time around, but then in the way they sort of did. Because now it's 1-1 with Andrade, and you know, and Ray getting one win, then you know, Andrade getting the other, and now nobody won. That wonderful, just wonderful. Okay, so with that said, we're gonna sit here and say like, okay, so you're not gonna give us a finish after you made us sit. I didn't sit through all of it. I watched clips of it. Thank fucking God. That would have been a waste of time. You watch all that shit and you don't get a finish. So Joe runs in and they're gonna do the tough guy routine, you know, and then Randy Orton runs in out of nowhere and does the RKO, just completely destroying the whole point of them making Joe the big tough guy. I don't give a shit, but if you're going to make him look like a tough guy and have him interrupt a half an hour match, you at least could have like the decency to at least end it on that note, but instead Orton just comes out and kills all his heat. Now, I like Orton, and I definitely prefer him to fucking fat boy Samoa Joe. But I mean, like, you know, you're building Joe up, and then you just knock him down just like that. What the fuck was what a shitty ass show. And are you kidding me? Are you really gonna honestly tell me that the Rumble is this Sunday? Can you believe that the Rumble is this Sunday? This is the Royal fucking Rumble. I mean, besides WrestleMania and SummerSlam, the Royal Rumble is the biggest event that they've had. Now, Survivor Series hasn't felt important in years, so we could pretty much scratch that one. But the Royal Rumble, this is pretty much a match that almost everybody enjoys. And they did a really shitty job building up to this pay-per-view. But then again, they do a shitty job building up to all the other pay-per-views, including their big boy, WrestleMania. Now, they always deliver, you know, a halfway decent Rumble match, I've noticed in the last couple of years. Last year, I said it was actually, after bad-mouthing it, that the Women's Royal Rumble actually took the show because of all the legends that they had in there. Because, you know, you had so many great from the past pouring into that Rumble. And, you know, it seemed like, you know, the young girls were working well with the veterans. And I ended up enjoying it. There were a lot of surprises. Some people we knew were going to show up that were pretty obvious picks. But it ended up being more entertaining than the men's due to that. You know, a lot of times that's what it is. You know, if you give us legends, if you give us veterans, if you give us the more competent workers, then yeah, then we're going to probably enjoy that match more. And that's exactly what happened. So, you know, once again, I'm looking more forward to that Women's Royal Rumble. Because the men's, we already know it's going to be Seth freaking Rollins. I'm going to win it. I'm going to do it for Roman. You know, that's exactly what's going to happen. You know, we can look forward to 3 suicide dives in a row. Woo, boy. I might even go for 4. You know, of course. You know, why not go for 4, Seth? I mean, it is Mania. Average Joe Rollins is... You know, he could have been a truck driver. I could have been a truck driver. I mean, you know, he's fulfilling his dream. All because, you know, he had a dream. You know, oh my God, what a civil rights leader in Seth Rollins. He's going to lead the Smarks to victory. This is the SmackDown review, but I'm sorry. We're talking about the Rumble now. I can't resist. Well, there you go, guys. That's all I've got to say. A shitty show, a shitty build to Mania. The best part of the show was Daniel Bryan's promo. Obviously, what a charismatic guy. He steals the show for me almost every time they give him a mic. I hope they build on this, obviously. I hope they don't do something stupid like have him drop the fucking title. But guys, if you enjoyed this video, why not subscribe? Hit the thumbs up if you did like the video. And if you didn't, hit a thumbs down and tell me why. I'd love to know. And click the bell so you get all the notifications when I post all my new videos. Check out some of the other content I have posted here. And thank you for watching, guys. This has been your YWC champ. And I'm signing out.